Well, granular synthesis. It's going on with grains. You have a sample like this, and the sample can be sliced into different slices, and each slice on its own can be extended or shortened. So it can be widened or shortened. And if you put the slices like this, one over the other, you can crossfade it. It can be crossfaded like this or this. So this makes a difference. And the length of each slice is manipulated by this. So length can be manipulated. And what you also can do, you can make copies of these samples as a whole, of the grains, and just put them out of phase, as if you have a multi-track. Let's say you have can do this 8 times. Then each one of these samples can be pitched, and each one of these samples can be also spreaded within the panorama, stereo panorama for example, and the pitch can also be randomized. So we have these different samples, we have the slices go down there, and what you also can do within this pitched samples, if you have the sample again here, or even if it's a grain, you can loop it, and if the loop is very short, it's like a tone. So if the loop is like this, and you say the duration, the length of it can be manipulated. In the end, you find yourself as if you have a tone, a permanent tone. In the beginning, this could be a loop, and then you take a little grain out of this loop, out of this bigger loop, make a very short grain and loop this again, and then you get a tone. You can even get a sinus or some wave forms out of it. Don't misunderstand, this is not wavetable synthesis. We're still in granular synthesis here. So sample like this, like this, like this. In the end, you only can say at which position in this sample do I want to start my loop, or do I want to start with my grains? And this is manipulated with this position knob. And all in all, you find in Padshop Pro, you find prefabricated samples, or you take from your folder on the hard disk, you put samples in there. So it's quite easy to understand. Well, this is a very brief description. Of course, you can use filter, you can use FX, you can use the formants. The formants can be manipulated, and you have a mod matrix where you can use an LFO, to manipulate the grains, extensions, the length of the grains, or manipulate the FX, or manipulate everything. So all in all, it's like yeah, a little workshop for manipulating samples and getting something out of it you could never imagine when you start. That makes it quite different to understand where am I going to go, because it depends on the sample itself where you might end up. So I found out that the material must be pretty differing from each other to get different results by using all these granular modulations here, not end up in a big mess. Of course, at first sight or first ear hearing, you think, well, it's great, it sounds really big, but if you do it more sensible, you have much more interesting results using very different samples, or really choosing a little slice that fits your interests and where you want to go. It's the same like with modular synthesis. Which waveform do you take in the beginning to get somewhere? And that makes it quite complicated. And if you have a program like Crusher X, or I can do it also with Icarus from a German plugin, let's say Crusher X, then it even gets more complicated, because you have the surround and all these things, and via VWise and on something like Nuendo, you can really do some sounds design with this to put it into gaming, for example. But where I found you must be very exactly looking if you need it is this effects section here. I would not even choose it, because via spread and pitch and so you really get some effects like phasing or chorus. You don't really need this, and as we all know, reverb and delay really are not that nice to make specific little sounds. It makes everything big, and in the end you have this big mess. So let's check it out with Padshop, how it's going on.